Thanks for joining me. This is Danny, and welcome back to my 1.12.2 series. This is going to be a real short episode in which we're going to be talking about my automation for Resonant Ender and Gelid Cryotheum that we used in the last episode when we built this big reactor, or this extreme reactor, as a coolant, and I promised you that I was going to show you how I did that. So we're going to head over to the basement in the house and see how that is all set up. So we're going to start with the easy one, and that is the Resonant Ender. It really only requires a couple of machines. So basically, to make Resonant Ender, we can put ender pearls and a few other items in our magma crucible, and that gives us Resonant Ender. So I have a magma crucible here that has a exporter in the back that's just always exporting ender pearls into this magma crucible. So it's always full of ender pearls. If we take them out, it's just going to add more, as you can see. So I will put them back in here. And this is set configure to output to the right side and input from the back. That is where the importer is. It's technically not an importer. Technically it's XNet. It's an XNet connector, which is pulling from this interface from refined storage, which is not configured so that we can pull anything out of our refined storage system. But basically the concept is that we just always keep this magma crucible full. We always output it to the right, which is going into this fluid transposer. So this fluid transposer is always full of Resonant Ender because it is pulling from the left from that magma crucible. And it's also pulling from the top because we have an autocrafter up here. So if we want to make buckets of Resonant Ender, we can autocraft that with this crafter. We have a simple recipe here. The input is one bucket, the output is Resonant Ender bucket. So basically, the refined storage crafting system doesn't really care about the Resonant Ender. It just knows that, hey, if I give this guy a bucket, I get back a bucket of Resonant Ender. So that's all that is. So when I did my big reactor, or my extreme reactor, I just put this reservoir in there. It filled it up, and that was that. So easy peasy. Now the Gelid Cryotheum is a little bit more difficult. If we look at the recipe for Gelid Cryotheum, we will see that we get that by putting Cryotheum dust in a magma crucible. So a similar process. However, the Cryotheum dust is a little bit more difficult to make because we need a snowball, we need redstone, and then we need a couple of blizz powder. Now, I don't have a blizz spawner here, so I am crafting blizz powder because you can do that. You can craft blizz powder. And to do that, all we do, and this recipe has changed recently, it used to be different, is we use some liquid XP of some kind. Now in this pack we have XP juice from Reliquary, we also have the Essence of Knowledge from Thermal Foundation, and we just combine that with 2 snowballs in a fluid transposer. The recipe used to be, now I had to change my automation because I had it differently before, the recipe used to be just redstone and a snowball. So 1 snowball and a little bit of redstone gave us a blizz rod. Now that's no longer the case. Now to get the liquid XP in this pack, or the Essence of Knowledge in this pack, we use Solidified Experience from Actually Editions. So again, it's going to depend what mods you have. There's a lot of different mods that have different ways of getting liquid XP, but in this pack, we have a ton of the Solidified Experience that we're getting from a mob farm, and an XP solidifier from Actual Editions, and we're basically putting that in a crucible, a magma crucible. This might seem very familiar. Basically, we've just got an importer going into the back of this magma crucible. It's always full of Essence of Knowledge because this is always full of Solidified Experience. And again, like the other one, we're inputting from the back, which is where the importer is. We're outputting to the right side, where we have a fluid transposer. Very familiar once again. And with the fluid transposer, we've got a crafting recipe set up here where if we want blizz powder, we just give this guy 2 snowballs, we get back a blizz powder. So again, the crafting recipe doesn't care about the Essence of Knowledge. That's just always in there. All the crafting recipe needs to know is, hey, if I give this guy 2 snowballs, I get a blizz powder back. So that's how that works. So then we take that blizz powder and, oh yes, snowballs. We do have some automation for snowballs as well. Because again, this recipe does require the snowballs and redstone. Of course, you know how to get redstone. That's pretty easy. It's all over the world. Whatever, you have a quarry, you get a billion redstone. So yeah, that's easy. Snowballs, probably the easiest way to automate that is with a Glacial Precipitator from Thermal Expansion, which you give it water and a little bit of RF, and it gives you snowballs. So this machine can also give you blocks of snow and ice and packed ice and snow, whatever. Of course, we just want snowballs. We have this guy configured to input from the left, where it has an exporter from refined storage, which is exporting a fluid. The only fluid it will accept, of course, is water. And I have water filtered, and we are actually getting water from a sink from cooking for blockheads. There's something in that sink. I don't know what that is. It looks like a fish or something. Huh, weird. But I've got an external storage on here. So our refined storage system just always has 2 billion, 2.1 billion, wait. Yeah, 2.1 billion millibuckets of water available to it because of the sink, because it's basically an infinite water supply. So yeah, so whatever way you have to get water into this thing, you give it water, it gives you snowballs. I have it outputting to the top, and it's going into the storage drawer. The storage drawer has an external storage on the side, so that we always have access to these 512 snowballs in our refined storage system. So there's just always 512 snowballs in there. If we take any out, this guy is just going to replenish them. So then, finally, we have, well, maybe not finally. Then we have the magma crucible down here. So then we have the setup like we have here. The same familiar setup, the magma crucible and the fluid transposer pair. The magma crucible is getting these cryotheum dust. Now we have an exporter on the back of this guy. That exporter has a crafting card in it. So the crafting card basically tells refined storage. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to break through and show you so that you know what I'm talking about. Oops. So we have an exporter, and it has a crafting upgrade. So the crafting upgrade, well, that was weird. That didn't show up the first time. Okay. So we have a crafting upgrade. We're exporting cryotheum dust. So what the crafting upgrade does is it says, hey, if we don't have any cryotheum dust, then we're going to craft some. So, and as we already saw, we taught refined storage how to craft cryotheum dust over here, right? 2 snowballs? No. Oh, okay. So the cryotheum dust is just a regular crafting recipe. So we have, in one of these guys, we have a crafting recipe. So you can see we get 2 blizz powder, 1 redstone, 1 snowball. We get 2 cryotheum dust. And of course, we already know where we're getting our blizz powder and snowballs from. And then we're just, with that exporter in the back, it's just always going to keep this thing full of cryotheum dust, which means that this magma crucible will forever be full of Gelid Cryotheum. And that's outputting to the top. And of course, this guy is pulling from the bottom, so this guy is always full of Gelid Cryotheum. And what I did is I just stuck my little reservoir in there and filled it up with Gelid Cryotheum. And that's it. That's the whole setup. So, of course, if you have any questions or whatever, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. If you have any ideas, comments, or anything you want to add or take away or whatever, feel free in the comment section below. And, of course, if you did enjoy this, don't forget to click the like button and to join us next time when we are going to be setting up turbines for our extreme reactor so that we can generate tons and tons and tons of RF. So I hope you join me for that. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.